Government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. The police will be given more tools to restore order in places where public assemblies can constitute illegal and dangerous activities, such as blockades and occupations, as seen in Ottawa, the Ambassador Bridge, and elsewhere.
What the fuck?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Jazzbro Gonzo here. Another What's Next. Happy Tuesday. Well, in some parts, it's a happy Tuesday. In others, not so much. The situation with the Canadian truckers took a different turn this past Sunday when Canadian police, were able to clear off the Ambassador Bridge. Of course, the Ambassador Bridge leads from Detroit to Ottawa, 25% of the trade route from both countries. So it was vital. And of course, many people were arrested, so they were able to clear out the blockade. But just when you think things took a turn for the worse for the truckers, and of course, can't get any worse than this, right? No. You have little Castro, douchebag Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, decides to go the nth route. He decides to take all his cards and push them all into the middle of the table, all his chips in the middle of the table, and go for broke. And what do I mean by broke? He decides to use a rarely used federal act. He invokes federal powers against these evil, nasty, unvaxxed mom and dads who are truckers. What the fuck? Let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. Justin Trudeau grabs powers under never-before-used Emergencies Act to stomp out truck protesters. Wow. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has invoked the Emergencies Act for the first time to squash the ongoing Freedom Convoy protests against Wuhan COVID restrictions, potentially giving Canadian leaders sweeping emergency powers, never before seen in Canadian history. Trudeau announced the use of Emergencies Act for the first time in its history Monday afternoon, stating that the federal government has invoked the act to aid law enforcement to stop border blockades as well as Freedom Convoy demonstration in downtown Ottawa. He went on to claim that the act would be used in a time-limited and geographically narrow way and would not be used to bring in the military or suspend the rights of Canadians in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Well, dude, you just did. The Emergency Act replaced the prior War Measures Act that was used by Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Yeah. Little Castro's father, supposedly, during the October crisis of 1970 when members of the far-left terrorist Front de Libération de Quebec kidnapped and murdered Quebec Deputy Premier Pierre Laporte. The act, which came into law in 1988, allows Trudeau to invoke various measures that could include banning people from gathering in certain areas, as well as restricting travel across their country. Yes, but we're not going to do this to disrupt Canadian freedoms and liberties. Yeah. Several provincial premiers have come out against the implementation of the Emergencies Act, including Saskatchewan Conservative Premier Scott Moe, who publicly stated he was opposed to the measure. Breitbart London. Freedom Convoy truckers form new border blockade in Manitoba. Police confirm that a border crossing in province of Manitoba has been blockaded by anti-mandate truckers. Quote, Saskatchewan does not support the Trudeau government invoking the Emergencies Act. If the federal government does not proceed with this measure, or if they do proceed with this measure, I would hope it would be only invoked in provinces that request it as legislation allows. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney also stated his opposition. We have the legal right powers that we need. We have the operational resources that we need to enforce. And I think at this point that the federal government to reach in over top of us without offering anything in particular would frankly be unhelpful. Alberta is one of the provinces dealing with a Freedom Convoy blockade at a town of Coats along the United States border, which has been ongoing the last 2 weeks. While protesters did lift the blockade temporarily, it resumed last week, despite Alberta lifting several restrictions, including its vaccine passport system. In Manitoba, where a blockade was set up at the border of the town of Emerson, Premier Heather Stephenson released a statement saying that she did not support the act. In my view, the sweeping effects and signals associated with the never before used Emergency Act are not constructive here in Manitoba, where caution must be taken against overreach and unintended negative consequences. While the situation is very different in Ottawa, the ultimate federal legislation should only be used or considered to be used on a measure of proportional basis in locations where it's truly needed. François Legault, premier of the French-speaking province in Quebec, also came out against the Emergency Act. I think that I was very clear with the Prime Minister that the Federal Emergencies Act should not and must not apply in Quebec. We don't have any problems in Quebec so far. The Sûreté de Quebec has everything under control. But he claimed that the situation in Ottawa was different than any protest taking place in Quebec. I can understand that enough is enough in Ottawa. You can protest, but you can't do what they've been doing for 2 weeks. Well, they're trying to make their point. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said Monday morning that he supported Trudeau's use of Emergencies Act. Of course he did. Just after Ford declared a province-wide state of emergency to end several border blockades in Ontario, including the blockade of the Ambassador Bridge, of course, which was cleared. Quote, I support the federal government act and any proposal to bring law and order back to our province. Yes. Through governmental terrorism. Nice. To make sure we stabilize our business and trade around the world, Ford said. My thoughts. Wow. Kind of coincidental that President Dementia Joe and his goons in the White House decided to whisper, as I said in one video, sweet nothings into Justin Trudeau's ear, and Trudeau listened. He sat on it for about a week or so, and then implemented a rarely used Emergencies Federal Act against these nasty truckers. Oh my gosh. Out there singing and waving Canadian flags and saying, we just want our rights back. But no, they're evil. They have been compared to January 6th, people who broke into a Capitol building and led by Chewbacca. But these people are evil, and they need to be wiped off the face of the earth, per Trudeau. Now, as we've all seen with governments around the world, whenever Emergencies Act are used or created, legislation created, it never goes away. In the United States, it's called the Patriot Act. Now in Canada, we have a rarely used Emergencies Federal Powers Act, a War Powers Act. And if you think, Canadians, that it's going away after Trudeau just invoked it, what's the old saying? I got a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you. Trudeau is a nasty little Napoleon mother. It's what he is. He's a pussy. That's what he is. And instead of sitting down with the truckers in the leadership of the Freedom Convoy and saying, okay, let's iron this out. What do you need me to do? Which is what normal people would do. Those with rational sense would do. Those who critical think would do. No. Trudeau runs out of the city with his wife and kids, hightails it, hides in a bunker, comes out, shoots his mouth off, calls them white supremes, and then now does this. I still stand by the truckers. They're doing the right thing. And I support the American truckers that are making their way from LA to DC, hopefully in time for Dementia Boy's little speech. Trudeau is such a piece of shit. He is. The dude is a piece of shit. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.